Excellent. Welcome everybody, thank you so much. And Denise, this week has arrived. Hooray, it's been quite a week, hasn't it?
It has indeed, it has indeed. Things going wrong, things going right, and it's out there.
It is, it is. So we did the online launch, what day was it?
That was Tuesday.
Tuesday, and it went very well, didn't it? But this, look, I mean, this is your dream come true. I love Denise because she talks about things and then they happen, and here we are. It's absolutely extraordinary.
And I always like the rain beginning to come down and patter on the parachute. It's just sort of adding to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what the woodland's like, isn't it? The different weathers, different kind of feelings and different, different feelings. So, and everybody, please, if there's anything you want to ask Denise, you can do it now, you can do it whenever. I've got a couple of questions here, but yeah, so if you've got any questions, just go ahead. So Denise, we're sitting in a place where you wrote most of the book. And what role has this woodland played in your thinking?
I started writing it 7 years ago before I had the wood, and it would have been a very conventional book, but particularly these last 2 years since completing the doctorate and getting that Rethinking Retirement book done, I've just been doing so much. It's not even coming here and properly thinking, it's coming here and just allowing myself to be. And I think that, you know, as I pick up a log, as I move a branch, as I stop and listen to a bird, it just gets into a different layer of my head than I have if I'm sat at the computer thinking, right, now I've got to type. Whereas here I never feel I need to do anything, I just am.
And when you first bought wood, did you know it would become part of your work and your writing? Because the way you write anyway, Jim and I were talking about it earlier, we were just saying, I wish we could write like you do, because it really resonates and it really hits the heart and it streams out of you. It's extraordinary. Do you think having this wood, how's it affected your writing and your work?
Because when I got the wood, and that was while I'm doing my doctorate, so there's a very formal way of writing for that. But I think we were talking earlier about doing vision quests and things and how that really changed me. And I think it got me really connected to nature in a way I hadn't realised it was going to go so deep. And so being here, it just allows me to, I suppose, I'm just finding a different self. Because there's a self you present to the world that everybody sort of knows you as, and there's the bit that you really want to hide away. But then there's the missing bit. And I think that's what having the wood and being a woodland owner has allowed me to do, was to find this part of me that has probably always been with me. But I think it's, first of all, it's having the wood, and it's also being older. Being older has allowed me to find this, I hate to call it sort of the wise person within, but I think it's a much more considered, centred, grounded person than I was before. Because I know, I come here and I get out of the car and the first thing I do is pause and breathe. And, you know, just all the senses, that sort of thing.
I think there's a real sense of space here, isn't there? When you come here, you can feel it. I don't know, the sounds but do you think you've got more space here?
Yeah. And I think I don't do my thinking here. I do my thinking walking about or going and sat on a log. Because in a way, this area here, I call my base camp, and this is where, you know, you cook and you do things, chop wood or whatever, stack logs. But when I go out there and, you know, afterwards, if you want, I mean, I've got an area with 2 seats, I've got an area with a bench, I've got an area with another 2 seats, and there's logs and things. So there's all these places, and it's like I'm just wandering around, and it's like, why don't I just sit a while? And I'm not thinking, but stuff comes. Stuff comes.
I think just being in a woodland anyway, that it makes you discover and explore, doesn't it? Because there's all these living things and all this nature. That's kind of what happens.
Yeah. And I think it is that discovering, because I first started learning it on this first vision quest, and now it's like I walk gently, I think that's where
Yes,
Walking Gently
yes.
comes from. And it's just noticing things. I really notice things that other people don't notice, or what I would have noticed in my other world. And we were talking about David. David came here a while back, and he got like his ghetto blaster, and he started playing reggae, and it's like, it's a thought you'd like to hear it. I go like, but David, I can't hear the birds. Can we just like be quiet? He'd like to show me all his new toys and stuff. He'd got all sorts of camping equipment and things. But I just want to hear the birds, and I just want to listen to what they're saying to me. But it's not just the birds, it's the whole thought thing. I seem to have this I just can tell it's going to rain, 10 minutes later it's raining. I'm just turning into, I don't know, they'd call me a witch in years gone by.
No, it's interesting because you can't see the view or the hills or the weather coming in. You can just feel it in the.
You notice
in
the
the air.
difference. I don't know, if I was doing science, it probably is atmospheric pressure, and that's what you're picking up underneath. It's like, no, I just, the wind is telling me. I'd rather have that as my view.
Excellent. And we're just going on to the book now and talk about sort of later life. And you often say that later life's become a distinct stage of life in its own right. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm really interested in this is, first of all, when I was doing my doctorate, that was one of the things that I was finding out about different life stages. And a lot of people were talking about the young olds, which is 60 to 75-ish. I mean, they're not a particular age, but they're a period where, for some people, well, for all of us, I think at some point we're going to reach a point where work isn't the be-all and end-all of our life. And clearly some people, it's never been that. It's just been transactional. I work to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But I think what is really nice about the 60 to 80 stage is, hopefully, you've got enough money. You might not have loads, but you've got enough for the life you want to have. You've got your health, and you've got a sense of, but what do I want my next stage of life to be like? How do I want to go going forward? And as we know, because we see things on LinkedIn, and there's so many people who just say 70 is the new 50 and just keep working, because why would you stop working? Because
work.
Yeah, work. And then you get a whole range of people who can't get a job because they're over 50, so I'm not quite sure how that all is meant to fit together. But if you just carry on working until your knee goes and your hip goes and your partner dies, or, it sounds a bit depressing, but if you carry on like that, then what's going to happen is, you've missed out, and you've missed out on all the things that you could have done. And so that's almost like what I'm sort of becoming the poster woman for, aren't I? It's like let's have this stage of life where you do what you want and you carry on working if you want, but you just make sure you're working in the right way, rather than feeling that you're doing it because you've got nothing else. And there's so many people who just talk about purpose and a meaning, and they get it all confused what the two are. I did a Substack on that the other day.
That's a great Substack. Thank you for doing that. Now I know the difference.
but people say you get purpose through your job. If you haven't got a job, you're all a bit, where am I? So you need to get another job to bring your purpose back. But purpose can be anything. It can be doing your shopping. That gives you a purpose, can't it? It's all just smiling at somebody on the street. But then what gives your life meaning is much deeper, and it's not connected to purpose. Anyway, I won't go off on that one for now.
No, but that's great. And I think people talk work, life, but actually we're living and we're lifing. Sometimes work takes a big part of that, and sometimes it's less. And I think we should be living how we want to live. And what your book says to me is, you do you, Denise does Denise, Sarah does Sarah. We shape our decades because of who we are, not because of what everybody else is doing, and not because of what everybody else is saying.
And one of the things that, because I was writing this at the same time as career coaching for midlife and beyond, I'd sort of finished it, but it's like, let's have a go at this one and see if I could bring them out at the same time, which was truly crazy and not going to be possible. But that was written it's a very good book.
It's a really good book.
That is a very good book, but it's written as a guidebook, a support, and there's lots of exercises, and you do this thinking and you do these exercises and you fill in all these boxes. And then when I wrote this, it's like, no, No, I want a different approach. And are they gentle invitations? I've forgotten now what I call them.
Gentle invitation, yes.
Yes, it's like, yeah, you can do this if you want, but if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it, you know.
It's insights and gathering, and it's gentler, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's what Viva and Carl said, didn't they, when they spoke about it.
And Lucy on the rocking chair, I mean, she wrote some nice words as well.
She did, yeah. So what do you think people in later life are really searching for now?
Well, I think it is meaning in a way. It's like
mattering.
Yeah. What is it that allows me to move forward and to feel? Because I think actually when we think about late life, because I think, you know, the age I'm at, you're just coming into it, the young olds, and then you're old, and then my mother's 93 and she's frail, and she's certainly in the olds, and I think there'll be a book coming up as in each stage, I think, as I'm going through. But I think what all of us who think deeper want to get to later life and think, you know, stuff happened that I wished hadn't happened, and I'm glad I did this, I wish this had happened. But at the end of the day, it's just been like, I'm satisfied. And clearly not everybody thinks deeply, and some people just go through life just experiencing it all as it is. But I think a lot of people, and then if you think about, well, what would my 90-year-old self thank me for at 68 or 61 or whatever, it's then you can think about, well, these are the things that I should be doing now. And I think there's something in the book around that, about, you know, let's just look forward 5 or 10 or 20 years into the future. Well, that's one of those extra things, isn't it? Let's move into the future and just think about, well, how could my life be and how do I want it to be? And, you know, I've said elsewhere, I always thought I'd carry on working until my brain stopped. And it was only last year, taking 3 months here, that made me realise, actually, I don't want to carry on with the life I had before with clients. Clients were great.
I remember the conversation, I think we were with Lucy as well, weren't we? And you had this manifesto for you, and it's like, right, that's it. I'm not doing it anymore. And it was, it was amazing.
Yeah. And the proof of the pudding was when somebody came to me for work maybe a month or so ago, and it was going to be a £2,000 piece of work, which is not, you know, not nothing. And I turned it down. I said, don't do it anymore. And it was like, and the relief I felt, yes, turned it down. You know, the programmes often weren't ever charging much more than that, but it was a good one because I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah. And talk to me, on my list of questions, but about being 60, you know, later side of 60, but you know how you imagine that ageing will feel, or what it'll be like to be 70 or 80, and then actually being it. It's quite different.
Yeah, I mean, I feel ever thankful that I've still got good health. I had to go to the hospital yesterday for something, and it's like, what medication are you on? And it's like, nothing. And they always look at me, it's like, have I forgotten something? It's like, no, I haven't. I'm not on anything. And I can, you know, so I remain in good health. But what I hadn't realised was I get more tired. And I hadn't appreciated that I can go and do something, and then I get home and I'm no longer straight on the computer doing emails. I'm like, you know what, why don't you sit on the balcony with a cup of tea and read a bit of the paper, or read a chapter of a book. And probably a lot of people used to do that anyway, but I was just like firing and working and just feeling like I could just continue. And I think that's been a really useful thing to know, that actually just, you know, taking time out is a good thing to do.
One of the really, well, you know how much it meant to me, but you talked to me about the 3 paths, and I found that so interesting. So with life, you can kind of, in the future, you can carry on as you've been going, or you can, you know, or life might get smaller because of illness or health, and then it gets bigger. And I'm also going bigger, better, but it's like, what happens if it's... Could you talk us through that? Because that was such a great thing for me to kind of look at, thinking, oh, you know, I do need to consider 3 scenarios rather than just the one. But also for my mum, you know, my mum's 85, and I think she needs to start considering the 3, you know, the different parts. Anyway, that was amazing work.
Because I did 3 companion pieces, because I thought I could put the book on pre-order. Anyway, it didn't quite work out that way. Somehow I wasn't able to. So these were going to be pre-ordered gifts, but now they're available for a limited amount of time. And one of them is gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but basically it's a narrated PowerPoint where it takes you through 3 different areas and just thinking about your future. So it's got either, there's the future where we think it's going to be. So that could either be looking 5, 10, 20 years. You choose the time span. But, okay, this is how I think it's going to be like in 10 years' time. 20 years' time is what I keep on thinking about. At 88, this is how I think it's going to be. And then it's like, okay, so what if suddenly I get a heart problem or this problem or that problem, or, have a even worse concussion than the last one and my brain starts going. So then, well, what could, what's the worst that could happen and how would that be for me? And then clearly there's the third path, which is, but what if it all goes right? What if, like, hey, suddenly this, that and the other, and everything takes off and you've got way more than you could have ever expected? And I don't just mean money, I mean, relationships or whatever. And then, so if you've got an idea about all of those, then it helps you to move forward and have a plan. And I'm a 20-year ahead person, I often have been, but for some people it might just be next year, and to create the plan. But I think it's worth thinking about different options. It's like scenario planning when I used to be a consultant, because that means that you can think, actually, if that's how I want it to be, because we could have all different versions of it. If that's how I want it to be, then I need to make some changes, because it might be that you need to make adjustments to your health or the way you save money or something. And I think even youngsters like Kate over there can be thinking about about things for the life that she wants to have. So I think it's hopefully I'm not even sure. Sorry for calling you out, Kate. Whether you are the youngest here, I think so, but but Kate is such a good friend, and Kate was my 3rd friend I made, and I just want to say that because 8 years ago, it's basically to the day I moved into a flat in town and I hadn't got a single friend, and I went to do something like salsa and thought I'd meet people that way. I didn't. I just cried all the time. And then I'm into music, so I went to a meetup group and I met Jeffrey, who wasn't able to be here because he's in France. And so I met Jeffrey at a gig at the Cotswold in town, and then he told me about something that was happening in the brewery centre, a brewery quarter. And I went the following week and he introduced me to Helen, who became really close friends with. She's got a little dog she had called Ludo. And then she said to me, do you want to come to a party? And I go like, yeah, okay. And I went to Kate's. And that's where I met Kate. So Kate was my 3rd friend. And it was just, it's a snowball about how you meet people and do things. And I just wanted to sort of honour you, Kate, because you're like an old friend. And then I've got Tony and Deborah, who are probably my newest friends, who I've met through theatre.
I think those friendships are so important, those third spaces or that community piece where not home, not work, but other things, all kind of doing things. And I think, well, the other thing, looking a decade ahead does serve you well, or 2 decades ahead. I wish I'd done a bit more of that. But anyway, another question: what's nature taught you about ageing?
Yes, I think the more you spend, it's not necessarily just the wood; it's with the garden, isn't it? Because you plant things and they grow or not. But you see, like a tree, and I walk around talking to my oaks, because when I've had people here from the Forestry Society, they say, I really like your standards, Denise, because we talk in those sorts of terms.
Standards?
Oak standards, because it's a coppice, so I learned quite a bit. It's a coppice, so they always put oaks standing amongst all the hazel that gets coppiced. But what I've been learning is, like, you've got a seed and it grows or it doesn't grow, and then you see there's all the different stages. And when I got this standing deadwood, and I think that's really important as well, and I create habitat piles so the deadwood can be used for different things. And a second one of my companion pieces was something that I wrote and narrated here, because it was so quiet, because there was just me and the birds, and that's all in the background. But it's just thinking about your life. So, and earlier today I had my contractor here with his son, who's just built with a compost toilet. Finally got one. And we were just talking as we were having some coffee before they left. about the different stages of his life, and at some point you're a seed and you're a sapling and this, that, and the other, and the father was saying to the son, "You're a sapling," and at a certain point you're going to be a snag, which is the dying bit. But I don't see it as this is your life cycle, because I think when we're thinking about leaving work, so at that point it can be an ending. So the work is ending, but something new is growing, and then something else is coming to maturity. So through life we've got all these different things, and I think that is, and that came to me, honestly, it was really hot, I was in the hammock and I was just drifting, and I thought about the life cycle of a tree and how I could relate that to us.
That's great. Is that when you wrote the "I wish I was a tree"?
No, that was tree.
Just really nice.
No, the "Wish I Was a Tree" was because the whole thing about having to market yourself, and but it was probably here I wrote it, was I don't want to do all this marketing, I just want to be a tree, and the birds come, and they don't have to do anything, they just turn up, and it's so I put something out there, and if it goes well, and if not, well.
I think as well, just the whole, for all the stuff you do on YouTube and StreamYard and digitally, and you are pioneering in all this stuff, so well done.
Thank you.
So,
but the YouTube stuff only happened because with the last book, Trotman, their 20-something marketing person said, "You need to do some shorts." I go like, "Well, what's a short?" And she says, "Well, do you watch them on Instagram?" I go like, "No." So I'd never watched them. But anyway, she told me I had to do short videos of about 1 minute. So I started doing them, and then she'd do all this fancy stuff with them. But in fact, I realised they were actually quite easy to do. So I just come to the wood and I just talk with my hat on, mainly, because my hair's normally a mess anyway. And some of them have got over 1,000 views, and some of them get about 12. So I can't actually work out what ones people like and what ones people don't. But it's well, I'm here and I'll just pop them up there. But it has grown from 50 subscribers to nearly 400. Yeah, in about 6 months or 9 months.
And you're learning all the time. That's lifelong learning, isn't it? All the stuff you're doing. Just self-publish a book and YouTube and do shorties, whatever they're called. But, okay. Many people see ageing as decline. Nature tells a different story. What do you see here that's... I guess it's the tree. What do you see here that's influenced your view of later life?
But I think it is. I think it's just being aware that there are life stages. There's so many people who are afraid of getting old because they just see it as decline. And there's somebody through the theatre group I get on really well with. I'm not mentioning her by name because but we get on so well, and she said to me, we exchanged some things because hopefully we're going to do something together, and she said to me, "I keep on forgetting you're older." and I thought that was a really nice thing that she said. And there's a musician I know, and whenever I see her, she'll always say it, but she'll say things like, it doesn't seem so bad getting old if you can end up like you, Denise. So and I think it's, you don't see yourself as a role model, but I think if you just go through life, experiencing life in a curious way, then I don't think people notice your age as the main thing. And it's so what if I'm getting older and I've got grey hair and I've got wrinkles and this, that and the other? It's if I wasn't this, I'd be dead. And I don't want to go in and spend all this money on plastic surgery. Why would I? Because being authentic is really important to me, which is why doing this here today at the Wood is way better than going off into a hotel.
It is. It's just it's so authentic, isn't it? And so on brand here. So if someone spent an afternoon here with no phone, no agenda, no pressure to be productive, what might they discover?
More about themselves.
Rediscover.
Yeah, more about themselves. In fact, any of you are welcome. This is the people here, not everybody listening.
YouTube, it's going to go crazy.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I don't think it'd be quite the thing if I had suddenly had a lot of people turn up. But no, there's something about being here and just taking a time out from life. Because lots of people, like my friend Linda, she goes off camping in all sorts of places, but I don't think that would be the right experience for me. And you can go off hiking around the Forest of Dean, but you bump into people. So I think what's nice here is you're not going to meet anybody, and also we've got a really good base camp, so we can have
great base.
So we can cook in, so we can have some really nice meals and stuff as well. But I think it's really nice to give yourself permission just to let yourself just be and just see what might be. Because I plan from either next week or the week after, I'm going to spend 3 nights a week here, week after week after week, and keep a diary of it, just to notice and to see what it's taught me about anything. I'm not going to live here for 6 months totally, but I need.
I think it makes Cheltenham. It'll make it. You know, you'll have this two not extremes, but it'd be really great to contrast as well.
But people are welcome to come and to be to be quiet, because I don't want to have this as, it's not a rave in the wood, but
yet. Oh, who's
Yes,
well, I suppose that would be another experience, wouldn't it? But I do think sometimes, you know, but to come and, you know, you can always put your sleeping bag around the fire, or I can loan you a hammock or something. But I think this thing about the whole 24 hours is really good to sort of to arrive and to sleep, and you can eat. It's not a vision place, you can eat. But I think when you listen to the birds and you listen to the deer barking, and you hear little things rustling underneath your hammock, which are probably little mice and things. Ooh. It's fine. They're good. And I've got a spider in my kitchen that I'm just letting do its own thing there, because
then you explore
yeah,
and discover.
Yeah. So it's. I think the silence, and I think the being alone. It's not being lonely. It's being alone, and being able to just be happy with yourself. And I think, because you're not on your own, because you've got this wonderful bird accompaniment.
Yeah, listen to that, it's amazing. It really, truly is. So